And she said the only thing that you can do to really incite change is to hit them where it hurts. And I can't put a police department in jail, but what I can do is I can hit them in the pocketbook and force them that they never want to have to write that check again. And so that's why I think that they were able to do that in Utah is amazing. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And what's even worse is it's not enough to just create the policies, right?
Right.
You can create the policy all day long, but if the individuals who are supposed to abide by the policies aren't following the policies, then you have these instances like Gabby, because according to my research, they were supposed to, when you find that there's some type of domestic violence incident, you're supposed to escalate that. It's not supposed to just remain with the police. You're supposed to send it up to a prosecutor for them to make a determination of whether or not charges are meant to be filed. But in this instance,
and this
they
we have prosecutors that are on call with their cell phone for these moments right here.
They have on-call schedules where all night long there is someone who's supposed to answer that phone at any time of the day to give police officers guidance.
Yeah.
So if in situations like this, you ignore what your witness has said, you ignore the injuries that are on that individual, the signs that this victim is truly presenting like a victim, and you classify it as disorderly conduct, and you don't send it up the channels for there to be an ultimate decision, you're not even abiding by your own policies.
Right.
So it's not just policies and procedures, it's actions to follow it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Preach it, right?
Yes.
No, I sound like somebody, Mama.
Well, I'm curious how many states have this, versus don't, and I'm
the
surprised
majority
to
of
hear we
states
don't.
do, and we have those systems in place because we know that this is what happens to women, right?
Right.
So, we see, how many women have to die before we do the right thing and follow our own rules?
Yeah.
We know that this is what it looks like. This is what domestic violence looks like. We know that if you get it wrong, then somebody could die.
Well, and we've had discussions on the Criminal Justice Report before with you, Amy. So I think folks at this point know that you're very passionate about this, and you do a lot of work in the community to try and help situations like this with our local police department, and to make sure that they have proper training that they should be getting for domestic abuse situations.
I think that's, especially in our community, I think that's the pushback from the police department is what gets me. It's like in our area, they don't really have any training beyond the criminal justice academy on domestic violence and how to deal with that stuff. I've got a civil case right now where they didn't do any kind of analysis that's required under the law, and arrested the female when she was clearly the victim of some of the most horrific domestic violence ever. And it's the pushback that we see in these police departments, and it usually comes with cases where women are victims, and that's the part that
that's the scary part.
I want to burn it down and build it back, and it breaks my heart as as a woman. I think we all deserve better than that.
Yeah, definitely.
But you've got to have the support and the want of the police departments to want something better for women, and I don't think we're there. I think it sounds good as a soundbite, but I don't think that it's in practice.
And maybe it's because the individuals who are typically officers are men. Maybe it's an inability to place oneself in another's shoes, for you to really understand what a victim goes through. I don't know.
I think you've hit a nail on the head, and I say this all the time because I've gotten into literally knockdown dragouts, everything shoved me, headbutting a police officer, trying to get this through their head. That you can say, well, why didn't they just say it? Here's a great example, and this isn't domestic violence, but this is sexual assault. 15-year-old girl gets sexually assaulted with another friend in the room. She never yelled out for help. And he said, well, why didn't she just say anything? I said, you get to say that as a white man, right, with a gun on your hip, and no one's ever questioned you, ever. And that's the place of privilege that we talk about, is that men can't, not all men, and I don't mean to lump everybody, but the majority of men, it's very hard for them to put themselves in those shoes, to understand the power imbalance of men and women, that they might not have somewhere to lay their head, at night, because their children will be taken because they're stay-at-home moms, or they make significantly less because they take up the rearing of the children. I mean, we go through, this is the circle of violence. And until we can get police officers the training and the empathy, it's just really hard. And we're going to have. Gabby will not be the last.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, she just won't. And
difficult.
that breaks my heart.
Yeah. Well, and we didn't say this, but the fiance, Brian, when he committed suicide and was found in Florida, he did have a journal that was found by his body that did confess to killing Gabby, which I think, I just want to mention that because that's an important part, that he did confess that he killed her. I just want to read a little bit of the actual lawsuit. This is with CBS News. Gabby Petito's family filed a lawsuit against police in Moab, Utah, accusing them of negligence that resulted in the 22-year-old's death. They're seeking $50 million in damages. The lawsuit, which was filed by her parents, and Nicole and Jim Schmidt, which I'm not sure who they are, but it was filed by both couples. They named the police department, 3 of its officers who responded, and 10 other unnamed defendants, and accuses them of negligent failure in their investigation. $50 million. What does that mean? I mean,
It means nothing, and it means everything.
yeah.
It goes back to what that judge said. You've got to hit them where it hurts to incite the change. And the only way to do that, I can't go put those people in jail. I can't put a whole police department in jail. And the only thing that I can do is to hit them in the pocketbook to incite that change, right? To say that this can't happen again. It's sad that that the value of women is that Gabby Petito's life wasn't enough to say this is where this never happens again. That we have to go and sue somebody, and hopefully that if they have to write a check for $50 million, then that's going to be the thing that
sparks the change.
That sparks the change. Makes me cry.
On kind of a separate but the same topic, how does it work, with Brian, the fiance, with him dying in this, and he normally would have been charged, right? So when someone dies, what happens with that charge? Is it just there's no one to charge, or is there still some sort of case?
Everything stops. And
Everything
I think
stops.
that's probably a big part of this for that family, is they want to know what happened.
Yeah.
And when Brian was found dead by his own hand, it stopped all investigation into what went wrong here. And so the only way to have that investigation is to have subpoena power, and that's why the civil suit is so important, because this is the only way we figure out what really happened and where the breakdown of everything was and how we can do it better.
Yeah.
And as a parent, I would be sitting here saying, because I have a daughter, and so this is very scary. But for those officers' actions, could my child have come home to me?
Yeah.
Oh.
If they had done just something different, if they had followed their own policies and procedures, would my daughter still be alive? Would I still be able to kiss her? Could I spend another Christmas with her? Could I see my grandchildren one day? Could I have one?
Yeah.
And that's the scary part.
When life gets ugly, justice is love.